I used to think my life would end in the same shadow where it began, in whispers, in shame, in hunger that gnawed at my stomach like a restless animal. But as the seasons passed, I started to notice something shifting. My son was no longer that fragile, helpless baby wrapped in torn cloth. He was now a boy with legs strong enough to chase chickens around the compound, with laughter that somehow filled spaces that once felt empty. He was still the darkest child the villagers had ever seen, and the nickname, the blackest boy, never left their lips. But where they saw mockery, I began to see beauty. His skin shone against the sun like polished ebony, his smile stretched wide enough to disarm even the harshest insults. I would sit outside the hut, my back against the mud wall, and watch him run barefoot on the dusty path, his laughter competing with the bleating goats. In those moments, I felt something inside me, something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. My grandmother hadn't changed much. Her eyes still carried disappointment, her words sharp as thorns. She never once carried my son, not even when he stumbled or cried from falling. But I stopped waiting for her acceptance. I stopped begging for her approval. Instead, I poured every drop of love I had into my boy. At night, I whispered to him that the world was cruel but he was not born to be broken. Opportunities in the village were scarce. No one wanted to give me work. To them, I was a stain, the girl who wasted her aunt's kindness, the girl who brought shame under her grandmother's roof. But I refused to be buried in that shame. I started selling what little I could. Some days it was firewood gathered from the far edges of the forest, other days I carried vegetables for neighbors to the market for a few coins. My hands cracked, my feet hardened from long walks, but each evening when I placed even a single coin in a small tin under my mat, I felt like I was building something. Something for him. And then, one morning, a small miracle arrived, though at the time it didn't feel like much. A woman from the nearby trading center came looking for someone to help with her small food kiosk. She had seen me at the river, scrubbing clothes for a neighbor, sweat dripping down my forehead, my boy playing nearby. She asked me, "Can you cook? Can you clean?" I wanted to shout, yes, but I kept my voice low, respectful. She gave me a trial. The first day I stood behind her stall, stirring pots of steaming beans and ugali, I felt a fire awaken inside me. People were eating food I had prepared. People were paying for meals that passed through my hands. I was no longer just surviving, I was contributing. The woman noticed how quickly I learned, how carefully I handled customers, how I stayed late to clean up even when my boy was asleep on a bench nearby. Soon she began trusting me with more responsibility. My son would sit in a corner, a piece of roasted maize in his small hands, and watch me work. His eyes always followed me, wide with admiration. I could tell he was proud, even if he didn't have the words to say it. That pride became my strength. Of course, not everything turned smooth overnight. There were still days when villagers whispered as I passed, still nights when hunger clawed at our stomachs because the coins weren't enough. My grandmother still scolded me as though every misfortune was my doing. But deep in my chest, I carried a new truth: I was not powerless anymore. I had a skill, a place where I was wanted, and a boy who gave me a reason to wake up each day. For the first time, I could see a faint light, far away, yes, but there. And every step I took with my boy beside me, I felt myself walking toward it.